Sometimes you're just going about your day, and a small crack appears. It's not a dramatic fault line, nothing that shatters your world. Instead, it's a subtle, almost imperceptible fissure in the familiar. Perhaps you're listening to a news report, or reading a history book, or simply observing human behavior, and an insistent question rises from somewhere inside. Is that all there is? Is this the whole story? It's a whisper, a flicker of unease, suggesting the comfortable, overarching narrative we've been given might be missing something truly vital. It's the feeling that surface explanations, however logical or widely accepted, are incomplete. It's the sense that behind the visible curtain of events and consensus, another layer exists, a deeper architecture of meaning just out of sight. You might find yourself drawn to books, documentaries, or conversations promising to pull back that curtain, to reveal what was intentionally obscured or simply forgotten. And suddenly, you realize you're not alone in this search. Across the digital landscape, in hushed corners of the internet, and growing online communities, a tangible surge of interest has emerged in what many call forbidden knowledge. Mysteries from antiquity, esoteric traditions, forgotten histories, alchemy, Gnosticism. These aren't niche academic pursuits anymore. They're trending, drawing curious minds from every walk of life. People aren't just looking for information. They're searching for an authentic truth, a narrative that resonates more deeply than the one they inherited. Why this sudden, collective turning toward the shadowed paths of wisdom? Why do we start searching for what was concealed when official stories no longer feel complete? What is it about these whispered histories and secret teachings that speak so powerfully to us now? Today, we'll step into that space beyond the headlines and easy answers, to uncover what this widespread curiosity truly signifies, and what it might reveal about the invisible hunger shaping our collective consciousness. This hunger for what lies beyond the surface is not new. It echoes through time, a persistent thread woven into the very fabric of human experience. Think of those moments when you glimpse something out of the corner of your eye, a momentary distortion in the ordinary, a shadow that seems too dense, a pattern that feels too intentional. It ignites a spark of wonder, a desire to peer closer, to understand the mechanism behind the illusion. This isn't about sensationalism or chasing wild theories. It's about a fundamental, almost primal curiosity for the unseen world. It's the same impulse that led early seekers to secluded caves, to decode cryptic scrolls, or to join secret societies. They weren't just looking for facts. They sought a different kind of knowing, an understanding that transcended the mundane and touched the sacred. They felt the conventional world, with its daily routines and accepted truths, was merely a veneer. Beneath it, they sensed a more vibrant reality. This intuition, this feeling of incompleteness, often marks the very beginning of the journey into what's called forbidden knowledge. For some, it manifests as a subtle dissatisfaction with purely material explanations. The universe, in its vast complexity and bewildering beauty, seems to hint at more than random chance or physical laws alone. For others, it's a nagging sense that history, as taught in schools, feels edited, truncated, leaving out crucial pieces that would provide a fuller, perhaps more unsettling, picture of humanity's past. This hunger is born from a desire for authenticity, for a truth that feels whole and uncompromised. It's a refusal to accept convenient narratives when a core part of us senses a richer story waiting to be told. This brings us to a recurring pattern in human history, the cyclical return of suppressed narratives. Civilizations rise and fall. Empires crumble. Technologies transform our lives, yet certain themes persistently resurface. The idea of a lost golden age, of advanced civilizations preceding our own, of esoteric knowledge guarded by a select few. These aren't just fringe theories. They are echoes appearing in myths, folklore, and clandestine texts across continents and millennia. Why do these particular ideas refuse to be permanently buried? Perhaps it's because official narratives, by their very nature, are often constructed to serve a particular purpose. They provide stability, reinforce power structures, and maintain social cohesion. But in doing so, they often simplify, omit, or actively suppress anything that might challenge the prevailing order. When a society questions its foundational myths, when trust in institutions erodes, that's precisely when the old, buried stories begin to stir again. It's a societal longing for an alternative framework, a different lens through which to view reality. Consider the Renaissance, a period of immense cultural upheaval. As Europe emerged from the perceived darkness of the Middle Ages, there was a resurgence of interest, not just in classical antiquity, but also in mystical traditions suppressed by dominant religious authorities. Hermeticism, Neoplatonism, Kabbalah. These alternative histories offered an intellectual and spiritual challenge to dogma, providing a sense of agency and a more expansive view of the cosmos and humanities. It was a societal search for what was lost, a yearning for roots more profound than the immediate past. We are, in many ways, living through a similar period today. The sheer volume of information, coupled with the rapid dissemination of alternative viewpoints, means official stories face unprecedented scrutiny. When traditional sources of meaning and authority feel hollow, people instinctively cast their nets wider, seeking sustenance in waters once considered forbidden. This isn't a flaw in human nature. It's an ingrained drive to connect with a truth that feels more authentic, more real, than the carefully curated versions presented to us. It's why forgotten history never truly stays forgotten for long. Among the various streams of esoteric knowledge, alchemy stands as one of the most misunderstood. Mention the word, and most minds conjure images of mad scientists in smoky laboratories, feverishly attempting to turn lead into gold. This reduction to mere proto-chemistry entirely misses the vast, multi-layered significance of the alchemical tradition. Alchemy, in its truest essence, was never primarily about material gain. It was a complex system for understanding and enacting psychological and spiritual transformation. The transmutation of base metals into gold was a potent metaphor. The lead, heavy and impure, symbolized the raw, unrefined state of the human psyche, burdened by ego, unconscious desires, and limiting beliefs. The gold, pure and incorruptible, represented the perfected self, the awakened consciousness, freed from inner dross and shining with spiritual wisdom. The entire alchemical process, the calcination, dissolution, separation, conjunction, putrefaction, coagulation, and finally the projection, mirrored an internal journey of self-discovery. Alchemists didn't just work with retorts and furnaces, they worked with their own inner landscape. They grappled with their shadows, integrated their opposing forces, and sought a harmonious balance between spirit and matter, psyche and cosmos. They believed that by understanding the universal principles of transformation, both in nature and within themselves, they could achieve a greater unity with the divine. The laboratory was merely an outer reflection of an inner quest, a symbolic stage upon which the drama of the soul unfolded. Today, this transformative understanding of alchemy resonates with a generation searching for meaning beyond consumerism and fleeting digital experiences. Many feel fragmented, disconnected from themselves and the natural world. The alchemical process, with its emphasis on integration, purification, and the revelation of inner gold, offers a powerful framework for personal growth and spiritual wholeness. It speaks to the human desire not just for change, but for essential transformation, moving beyond the surface, to refine the very essence of who we are. It is the art of turning the ordinary experience of being human into something truly extraordinary. The allure of secret teachings, whether from old mystery schools, Gnostic texts, or modern esoteric orders, persists because they promise a particular kind of knowing, initiatory knowledge. This isn't information that can be simply looked up in a book or explained in a TED Talk. It's knowledge that demands experience, inner work, and a significant shift in perspective. It requires a willingness to engage with symbols, archetypes, and practices that bypass purely intellectual understanding and speak directly to the soul. In an age saturated with data, where every fact is theoretically accessible, the idea of knowledge that must be earned, that unveils itself only through dedicated effort and inner readiness, carries a powerful magnetism. It suggests that there are layers of reality and layers of self-understanding that are not given freely, but must be discovered through a deliberate process of initiation. This isn't about exclusivity for its own sake, but about the understanding that certain truths can only be comprehended when the individual is internally prepared to receive them. Secret teachings often provide frameworks for understanding the universe and the human condition that are far more intricate and symbolic than conventional models. They speak of subtle correspondences between microcosm and macrocosm, of cycles of time, of the energies that animate all life. They offer a sense of cosmic order and personal purpose that can be deeply comforting and empowering in a world that often feels chaotic and meaningless. They suggest a grand design, and that we, as individuals, play a vital role within it. The journey through initiatory knowledge is not always easy. It often involves confronting uncomfortable truths about oneself and the nature of reality. It challenges preconceived notions and demands a radical openness to new possibilities. But for those who embark upon it, the rewards can be immense. A powerful sense of connection, an enriched understanding of life's mysteries, and an awakened consciousness that perceives the world with new eyes. It's about moving beyond simply knowing facts to truly understanding the living truths that shape our existence. The term forbidden knowledge itself carries a certain weight, often conjuring images of dark conspiracies, shadowy cabals, or even forgotten alien interventions. And while some of the search for veiled truths does veer into these territories, it's vital to differentiate between genuine symbolic and spiritual truth-seeking and mere conspiracy noise. Conspiracy noise often thrives on fear, paranoia, and a desire to find external scapegoats for complex problems. It tends to flatten nuance, reduce intricate systems to simple good versus evil narratives, and often ends in a cul-de-sac of suspicion without offering any path to true understanding or personal growth. It preys on the innate human need to make sense of chaos, but often does so by pointing fingers rather than encouraging introspection. Symbolic and spiritual truth-seeking, on the other hand, is driven by a hunger for meaning, wholeness, and connection. It's an internal quest that recognizes the outer world as a reflection of inner states. It seeks to understand the subtle patterns, the archetypal forces, and the esoteric wisdom that can empower individuals to transform themselves, and by extension, the world around them. It doesn't necessarily reject the official narrative, but rather seeks to transcend it by understanding its underlying symbolic resonance. When people talk about forbidden knowledge in a meaningful way, they are often referring to elder systems of thought that were deliberately suppressed or simply lost to time because they didn't align with dominant religious, political, or scientific paradigms. They are searching for alternative ways of seeing, for philosophies that offer a richer, more nuanced, and often more challenging view of what it means to be human in a vast and mysterious cosmos. They are looking for keys to unlock greater perceptions, not just classified documents. This quest is a fundamental human yearning, far removed from sensationalist headlines and far more transformative. This resurgence of interest in veiled knowledge points to a significant societal shift, the collapse of surface explanations. For a long time, many societies operated on the assumption that scientific materialism, economic progress, and established institutions could provide all the answers we needed. The narrative was simple: follow the rules, work hard, consume. Eventually, life would reveal its purpose, or at least its comforts. But for an increasing number of people, that narrative no longer holds. There's a growing sense of emptiness, a feeling that even with all the material abundance and technological marvels, something fundamental is missing. Official stories, whether from mainstream media, political leaders, or even conventional academic institutions, often feel hollow, self-serving, or simply incapable of addressing the pressing existential questions that we are confronted with. Complex global challenges, environmental crises, social unrest, mental health epidemics, and the prevailing explanations often seem insufficient, failing to touch the root causes. When a society's foundational narratives begin to fray, when its institutions lose credibility, and when promised comforts fail to deliver lasting meaning, people inevitably look elsewhere. They begin to distrust the polished presentations, the carefully curated facts, and the narratives that seem to serve only those in power. This isn't necessarily a cynical rejection of all authority, but rather a powerful yearning for authenticity and integrity in the stories that shape our lives. It's a collective intuition that something more fundamental is at play, something surface explanations consistently overlook. This disillusionment creates a vacuum, and into that vacuum rushes the search for alternative narratives, for forgotten histories, for esoteric wisdom. People aren't just looking for information. They are looking for a new framework for understanding the world, a new way to orient themselves when old compasses no longer point north. The collapse of surface explanations isn't just an intellectual problem. It's a spiritual and emotional crisis, driving many to seek solace and meaning in places once considered taboo or overlooked. It is precisely this vacuum this collapse of surface explanations that makes timeless wisdom feel so urgent again. The old teachings, often dismissed as superstition or quaint historical artifacts, are now being re-examined with fresh eyes. Why? Because they offer something modern paradigms often lack: a holistic worldview, a nuanced understanding of human psychology, and a sophisticated framework for navigating the complexities of existence that integrate spirit and matter, inner and outer reality. Timeless wisdom traditions, whether from Hermetic philosophy, Gnosticism, indigenous spiritualities, or Eastern mysticism, consistently speak of interconnectedness. They emphasize the idea that everything is woven into a single living tapestry, and that the separation we perceive is often an illusion. In a world that feels increasingly fragmented and disconnected, this message of unity and wholeness is powerfully appealing. It offers a counter-narrative to the isolation and alienation many experience. Furthermore, these traditions often provide practical methods for self-transformation and spiritual awakening. They aren't just abstract philosophies. They are living paths that involve meditation, ritual, symbolism, and ethical practice. They offer a blueprint for developing higher consciousness, for cultivating inner peace, and for aligning oneself with cosmic rhythms. This active engagement with wisdom, rather than passive consumption of information, is exactly what many are seeking in an age where genuine agency feels scarce. The urgency stems from a fundamental human need for meaning, for purpose, and for connection to something larger than oneself. When modern life fails to provide these, the echoes of timeless truths become compelling calls. These wisdom traditions offer a lineage of thought and experience that has stood the test of time, providing a sense of grounding and continuity often absent in our fast-paced, ever-changing world. They remind us that the fundamental questions of existence have been pondered for millennia, and that powerful insights await those willing to listen to the whispers of the past. So, when we see this widespread fascination with forbidden knowledge, forgotten history, and alchemy, what are people truly looking for? Beneath the layers of historical intrigue, symbolic decoding, and philosophical debate, there is a singular, powerful impulse. It is not merely a hunger for information, though that's often the initial spark. It is a hunger for meaning. We are by nature meaning-making creatures. We crave narratives that explain our existence, connect us to something larger, and provide a sense of purpose beyond the immediate and the material. When conventional stories fall short, when they feel sterile, incomplete, or disingenuous, we instinctively seek out those narratives that resonate with a more fundamental, often unconscious part of ourselves. We are looking for the missing pieces of our own story, the lost chapters of humanity's journey, and the subtle mechanisms of a universe that seems to endlessly surprise and challenge us. The search for forbidden knowledge is, in essence, a spiritual quest. It's a yearning for a truth that feels whole, authentic, and transformative. It's the desire to reconnect with a sense of wonder, to perceive the sacred in the mundane, and to understand our place in a cosmos far more intricate and mysterious than we are often led to believe. It is the pursuit of wisdom that empowers us, not just to know more, but to be more. Perhaps the most transformative forbidden knowledge is not found in dusty scrolls or secret archives, but within the depths of our own being. The greatest alchemy is the transformation of consciousness itself, and the most compelling veiled history is the story of our own soul's journey through time and experience. The yearning for what was obscured is ultimately a yearning for the parts of ourselves that have been forgotten, waiting to be rediscovered. The crack in the everyday narrative isn't a sign of breakdown, but an invitation. It's a call to look beyond the surface, to question what's accepted, and to seek the underlying currents that animate reality. What secret knowledge, what vital truth is stirring within you, waiting to be acknowledged? If you found yourself recognizing these stirrings, perhaps it means you too are part of this awakening, this collective turning toward the unseen. If you resonated with these insights and wish to continue exploring the subtle currents of existence, consider subscribing to the Enchanted Archive. Your comments and interpretations below help illuminate the path for us all, furthering our collective journey into the symbolic and the sacred.